There isn't too many books written about Mike Oldfield and his music, but one such book is this one, and it is from the On Track series, and it says every album, every song, and it is written by a fan called Ryan Yard. Now, Ryan Yard is a composer, pianist and teacher. He has recorded 5 studio albums drawing upon his love of progressive rock, electronica and classical music, working with artists such as Tom Newman, producer of Tubular Bells, and Les Penning, who played recorder on Oldfield's UK hits Portsmouth and In Dulce Jubilo. Ryan teaches piano, musical theory and composition, and has established himself as a transcriptionist, having worked on a large collection of Mike Oldfield music alongside artists such as Yes and Vangelis. He lives and works in Shropshire. Now, Ryan has wrote this book, and it follows a similar pattern to all the other On Track books in the series. The book starts out with an introduction and a foreword by the author, and then it moves on to a short paragraph of the artist. It's usually actually a few paragraphs describing the artist and his history and whatnot. And then after that, each album is given a specific chapter in the book, and each chapter starts off with a short write-up of each album, giving you a little bit backstory into the album and a little bit of history and whatnot. And as a bonus, at the beginning of each album, he's also included a small fragment of musical notation for those of you who can read music and might be interested in seeing it. And then after that, each track is listed, and underneath each track again there's a brief history of the track. Following that, there's a little section of album highlights, which is the author's personal choice for the album highlight, which some of them I agree with and some of them I don't. But the good thing about this book is Ryan has kind of stayed neutral in his opinions. Only once in a while he gives a strong opinion as to whether or not he likes or dislikes the track. He gives a little bit of critique, but he's not in your face like some authors are, where you know they're a bit overkill in their opinions and stuff, which there's nothing worse than reading a book and the author's forcing his opinions like on here, and you're thinking, well, is this book written like for a fan or is it just written for yourself? But also included in this book, after each album, there's notable tracks section, which is a very handy thing to have because it gives the reader insight into a lot of album outtakes and rarities and B-sides to singles and stuff, which obviously weren't included on the actual album. The book actually says every album, every song, but technically it isn't every single song the artist recorded. It just means every song off each album, because if you had like every song for an artist, you're probably looking at another volume of this book, because Mike Oldfield's recorded so many non-album tracks that there's literally like dozens and dozens and dozens of them. But it's a handy little guide to have, because a lot of the B-sides and the non-album tracks are listed in this book. It's a good start if you're just familiar with these albums and you're looking to collect more of his music. There's a lot of hidden gems which are listed in this book. At the end of the book, he's also included a section where he lists all the musical jargon terms, all the words, because throughout his descriptions of some of the tracks he uses jargon that some people might understand. So there's a handy little reference guide at the back of the book where, for a layman like myself who would be thinking, well, what does that mean? What's he on about? There's a nice little section where everything's explained, and you know what he's referring to and stuff. And there's also a nice little section about compilations and live recordings and stuff, where it's just albums, his main catalogue, but at the end of the book he's also featured certain like compilations which are good for if you're not familiar with his music, he lists which compilations are good to start with and stuff like that. And there's also like rarities, notable rarities, which are, you know, it's handy to know about. But all in all, it's a good book. Like I say, he's not too overbearing with his opinions, and in the middle of the book there's a nice section of colour photographs from various points in Mike Oldfield's career. And there's also every one of these on track books does the same thing. They've got a middle section of photographs, and they're mainly all the album covers with a little bit of a description underneath about each album cover and each photo. But I would thoroughly recommend these on track books, not just the Mike Oldfield one, but like there's dozens of artists have now been covered by this book series, and they're all great read and everything. They're good for fans of an artist just to have as a reference book or a companion book to the catalogue of albums. And they're also good for people who are not familiar with an artist, who are looking to find out what they're all about. So it's a win-win for both people familiar with the music and people who are not familiar with the music of an artist. But yes, all in all, good book. Thoroughly recommend it. Anyway, so that was Mike Oldfield's On Track. And if you like the video, click like. If you didn't like the video, don't bother. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it gave you an insight into what to expect from this certain book. And hopefully I'll see you again. Thank you. Bye.